Comfort food. Potatoes, peas, corn, rice, sugar, tuna, milk, butter, eggs, mushrooms, onions, pasta, spaghetti, chicken, ham, beef, beans, pork, brown sugar, molasses, mustard, lamb, lasagna, macaroni, cheese, meatloaf. Comfort food. Comfort food is seldom exciting. It is seldom new or unusual. It is seldom colorful. And it does not make you dream of foreign lands. There is a lot that it does not do, but it does very well what it is supposed to do. It makes a lot of people feel comfortable. For many, comfort food is the kind of thing Mom or Grandma made. The word casserole has two meanings. It is a dish that food is cooked, usually baked, in, and it is the food itself. The dish usually contains a mixture of some meat, vegetables, and some kind of starchy food such as potatoes, corn, and rice. Starch, like sugar, contains carbohydrates, a chemical in food that the body needs. A typical casserole is tuna noodle. It couldn't be easier to make. It uses canned tuna, noodles, a simple white sauce made with milk, butter, flour, and a couple of spices, along with eggs, mushrooms, onions, and butter. Even the busiest people can put it together and toss it into the oven for a half hour. And be careful to use pot holders when you take it out. Noodles, by the way, are a kind of pasta, like spaghetti. Chicken can be substituted for the tuna, and you can guess the result: chicken noodle casserole, or ham, or beef. So this casserole is a good way to use leftovers that are in the refrigerator. Some casseroles use only a small amount of meat, so they are especially economical. Boston baked beans is one of these. It uses just a little pork for flavor, as well as brown sugar, molasses, and mustard. It is often served with a sweet brown bread. Another is shepherd's pie, which, though it includes some lamb, has mashed potatoes as the main ingredient. Still another is lasagna, a popular Italian-style casserole. The big noodles and the tomato sauce are more important than the ground beef in lasagna. Some casseroles use no meat at all. They are vegetarian. Maybe the most popular of these is macaroni and cheese, something children have pleaded for since the dish was invented. A white sauce, including cheese, is mixed with cooked macaroni, sometimes called elbow macaroni, and baked, like all casseroles. By the way, adults love it too. Almost anything can be featured in a casserole. Moussaka is Greek style, and contains a lot of eggplant. Rice is the main ingredient in Turkish pilav. Rice is also used to make rice pudding, a dessert. But not every comfort food is a casserole. Some are just familiar combinations like meatloaf with mashed potatoes and carrots. For most people, most of the time, the phrase comfort food makes them think of one thing: a familiar casserole.
Dinner. Poultry. Chicken. Turkey. Beef. Pork. Lamb. Chops. Ribs. Roast beef. Steak. Lettuce. Green peppers. Onions. Radishes. Mushrooms. Arugula. Tomatoes. Sprouts. Olive oil. Vinegar. Potatoes. Home fries. Fruit. Coffee. Liqueur. Berries. Nuts.
Dinner. The evening meal, usually called dinner but sometimes called supper, is the biggest meal of the day. In a formal meal or at a restaurant, there may be several courses. Many people like to begin with an alcoholic drink. Then comes the first course, an appetizer, which may be one of many small dishes or a soup. Next there is a salad. Then comes the main course, sometimes called an entree, and finally something sweet, the dessert. The main course is often a meat. The principal kinds of meat eaten by Americans and Canadians are poultry, chicken and turkey, beef, pork, and lamb. Chicken and turkey are the most popular. For those who like chicken, some prefer the light meat, breast, and some prefer the dark meat, wings, legs, and thighs. Among the various cuts of beef, ribs, roasts, and steaks, most people's favorite is a steak. The popular cuts of pork and lamb are chops, ribs, and roasts. The main ingredient of most salads is some type of lettuce. Green peppers, onions, radishes, mushrooms, arugula, tomatoes, and sprouts are other common ingredients. A salad dressing is mixed with the salad. There are many kinds of dressing: olive oil and vinegar, Italian, French, Russian, Thousand Island, and blue cheese, to name a few. The main course in the typical steak dinner consists of steak, potatoes, and another vegetable. Some people like their steak cooked thoroughly or well done, and some people like to have it just slightly cooked or rare. Somewhere between well done and rare is medium. A typical question at a restaurant is, how do you want your steak? There is also a choice of different types of potatoes: baked, mashed, French fries, or home fries. Baked potatoes are baked in the oven in their skins. Mashed potatoes are first peeled, the skin is taken off, and then boiled. Then they are mashed, and some milk, butter, and salt are added. French fries are potatoes cut into strips and deep fried, and home fries are slices or small chunks of potatoes fried in a pan. Finally, there is dessert. There are many kinds of desserts, but two favorites are apple pie and ice cream. Sometimes it is too difficult to decide on one or the other, so the ice cream is served on top of the pie as pie à la mode. Today, many people, thinking about their weight, prefer a more modest dessert like frozen yogurt or fruit. The evening meal often ends with a cup of coffee, regular or decaffeinated, for those who are kept awake at night by caffeine. At most restaurants, it is acceptable to take home food that has not been eaten. The server can bring you a doggy bag, which is really a paper box for your leftovers. Seafood dinner. Fish, clams, oysters, scallops, flour, milk, eggs, crabs, lobsters, shrimp, squid, octopus, salmon, tuna, flounder, haddock, red snapper, tilapia, catfish, trout, bass.
Seafood dinner. Seafood is a term that includes fish, shellfish, and other animals that live in water. Shellfish, clams, oysters, and scallops are removed from their shells, and they are often covered with a batter of flour, milk, and eggs, and fried. Oysters are often eaten raw, not cooked. Two other favorite kinds of seafood are crabs and lobsters, covered from end to end by a hard shell that has to be cracked to get to the meat. Maybe the most common seafood of all is shrimp. Shrimp is also battered and fried, and it is served in casseroles, salads, and as a popular appetizer, shrimp cocktail. For many people, the peculiar-looking squid and octopus with their many arms are a favorite seafood. However, many others are turned off by these strange creatures. There are dozens of kinds of fish, but a few are especially popular in the United States and Canada. Salmon, a fish that comes from the Pacific Northwest, is available fresh, frozen, canned, or smoked, lox. Tuna is available fresh, but it is also canned and used as the main ingredient in a casserole or sandwich. Another staple among the fishes is cod, associated with New England and the Maritime provinces, and often caught and then frozen on factory ships in the Atlantic Ocean. Other popular fish are flounder, haddock, and red snapper. In a good fish market, you can see all of these and more, whole or cut up into fillets with the bones removed. Many people prefer to buy fresh caught fish. The fish has been caught just a few hours or days before it appears at the market. Others buy it frozen. When it is caught, it is immediately packed into an extra cold freezer. From there, it is shipped frozen to markets all over the country. Some think it is as good as fresh, and it is very convenient because you don't have to worry that it will spoil. Another sign in the display case may be farm-raised, meaning that the fish are grown in a fish farm and are not free and wild. Not all fish come from the sea. Freshwater fish, such as tilapia, catfish, and trout, can be found in a supermarket. They are usually farm-raised, but they can also be caught by people who are fishing with a rod and reel for fun and for their own dinner. Bass are another favorite sport fish, caught mainly in lakes. And then there is the rather strange sport called ice fishing in the northern states and provinces. People go out on a frozen lake, cut a hole in the ice, drop in a line, sit back on a portable chair in their homemade ice shack, and hope.
Thanksgiving. Bread. Onions. Vegetables. Juice. fruit, kidney, liver, potato, milk, squash, peas, broccoli, cranberry, apple, pumpkin, raisins, venison.
Thanksgiving. The best-known traditional meal of the United States comes at Thanksgiving, the fourth Thursday of November. Thanksgiving began in the 17th century with the early settlers of Massachusetts who, with the help of the Indians, survived their first year in the New World. The settlers celebrated their first harvest by dedicating a feast of Thanksgiving to God. They now had hope that they could make a new life in North America. At that time, one of the common wild birds was the turkey. Today, people eat domesticated turkey at Thanksgiving. The turkey is roasted for several hours in an oven. It has to be watched and basted from time to time. The juice must be spooned over the outside to keep the turkey from drying out. The inside of the turkey is stuffed with stuffing. Some people call it dressing, a mixture of small pieces of bread, spices, onions, and other cut-up vegetables. After the saying of grace, a short prayer given at the beginning of a meal, the Thanksgiving feast begins. First, there is a juice or fruit appetizer. Then, the main course begins with the carving of the turkey. One person cuts off slices of meat. Turkey gravy, made with the juice of the turkey, flour, and sometimes the kidney and liver, is put on top of the mashed potatoes with a ladle, a large, deep spoon. Creamed onions, cooked in a liquid made from flour and milk, are also popular. Squash is another traditional Thanksgiving vegetable, and most people add something green like peas or broccoli. Cranberry sauce is very traditional. It is made from a slightly sour red berry that used to grow wild in coastal New England. Today, it is cultivated mainly in Wisconsin and Massachusetts and several Canadian provinces, especially in British Columbia. For dessert, there are pies. Apple, squash, and pumpkin are often associated with Thanksgiving. There is also mincemeat pie, a mixture of finely chopped, minced pieces of meat with fruit, raisins, and spices. In the days of the Pilgrims, as the early settlers were called, the meat was venison, wild deer meat. Nowadays, after the meal, many people retire to the living room to watch a newer tradition on television, Thanksgiving Day football games. Canada's Thanksgiving holiday, a celebration of the fall harvest, has been celebrated on the second Monday in October since 1957. Similar to the American holiday, it features parades, football, and turkey. For many Canadians, it is a last chance for a long weekend before the winter sets in, although in Quebec and the Maritime provinces, it is not as important as it is in the rest of Canada.
Cookouts. Meats, beer, iced tea, potato chips, nachos, salsa, vegetables, steak, hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken, onions, green peppers, shish kebab, corn on the cob, strawberry shortcake, cream, ice cream, clams, Lobsters. Seafood.
Cookouts. When the weather is warm, many families enjoy a cookout in the yard with a portable grill. Some grills operate on gas, but the traditional grill uses small blocks of partly burned wood called charcoal. People like eating outside because they enjoy the taste of charcoal broiled meats, as well as the experience of eating in fresh air. Cold drinks go naturally with cookouts. Beer, iced tea, and soft drinks are usually available. While waiting for the charcoal to become hot, people drink and eat appetizers such as potato chips with sour cream dip, nachos, corn chips with salsa, and even raw vegetables for those who are worried about calories. Steak, hamburgers, hot dogs, and chicken are the meats that are most commonly charcoal broiled. Sometimes small chunks of meat, onions, and green peppers are prepared as a shish kebab on a long metal stick called a skewer. Another favorite food is corn on the cob. The ears of corn are dropped into hot water and removed after just a few minutes. The kernels are buttered and salted and stripped off the cob in mouthfuls. Strawberry shortcake is a favorite summer dessert. Partially crushed strawberries are placed between the two halves and on top of a small vanilla cake. Cream that has been beaten to a light, smooth topping, whipped cream, is added to the top. Of course, another summer favorite is ice cream. The clam bake is a special kind of cookout that is done at the seashore. A fire is built in a pit and rocks in the pit are heated. The rocks are covered with a layer of seaweed. Clams, lobsters, and other seafood are put on top of the seaweed, and the whole thing is covered with a heavy cloth to keep the heat and moisture in and bake the seafood. A barbecue is another kind of outdoor event. The original kind, made famous in the American West, is a cookout in which a single large piece of meat is roasted on a spit, a metal rod over an open fire. The spit is turned slowly so the meat roasts evenly. Barbecues, like clam bakes, can also be done in a pit. Foods are associated with different sports. Baseball has hot dogs, for example. But American football has a different tradition, tailgating, a tradition that is beginning to catch on in Canada. Before a game, which is usually on a weekend afternoon in the fall, people gather on the stadium parking lot to eat hamburgers and talk about the game. The food is typically laid out at the tailgate of a small pickup truck. Someone brings a grill. There are drinks, chips, nachos, and maybe corn on the cob. When it's game time, the tailgate is closed and people head into the stadium where, if they are still hungry, they can get food from vendors.
Picnics. Chips. Hard-boiled eggs. Apples. Cheese. Pickles. Beer. Lemonade. Apple cider. Salt. Pepper.
Picnics. Cookouts are fun, but many people like to get closer to Mother Nature and have a picnic in the countryside. State, provincial, and local governments, the U.S. Forest Service, and Parks Canada maintain picnic areas at natural spots by a river, lake, or seashore, or on a mountain highway. Picnic areas may be free, but some of them may charge a fee. They often offer picnic tables, fireplaces, and toilets. In addition to bringing food, some essentials for picnickers to bring may be a picnic basket for the food, a blanket for the ground if there are no tables, a tablecloth if there is a table, and a cooler for the drinks. Some people will bring a camp stove for cooking things. It uses a canister of propane gas. For a simpler picnic, sandwiches are the main thing. Chips, dip, and hard-boiled eggs are also easy to take, along with an apple and maybe some cheese and pickles. The usual drinks are bottles or cans of soft drinks, and beer or a jug of lemonade in the summer and apple cider in the fall. Paper napkins, along with some salt and pepper and plasticware, are almost a necessity. And when it's over, look for the recycling bin. Nowadays, many people take their garbage home for composting. The process of composting begins with garbage collected in a special bin and then taken to a facility where it is turned into compost, a valuable soil for growing more food. Many communities pick up garbage for composting along with recyclable materials and trash. It may not be a bad idea to bring bug spray. Ants, flies, and wasps are always on the lookout for free food, and mosquitoes are looking for you. And then there is roadside camping in campgrounds. In these places, you can put up a tent or park your camper. Some people like to go deeper into the forest and choose to backpack, carrying all their needs on their backs. Obviously, they cannot easily carry heavy cans of food or fresh food that needs refrigeration. For these people, packages of dehydrated food are a necessity. They, too, may be bothered by bugs, but they may also be bothered by bears if they do not put their food into a strong sack and hoist their food on a rope high into a tree. Whether on a picnic, at a campground, or in the wilderness, or even on a city sidewalk, al fresco dining, eating outside in fresh air, is becoming more and more popular.